everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gettin Buzz'd. I'm Dustin Brackett, CEO and founder of HIVE Digital Strategy. With me as always is our business development manager, Michael Thebeau. And today we have a special guest. We have Richard from Acer Inbound. They're an agency out of New York. Welcome, Richard.
Hey guys, how's it going? Yep,
Great.
Acer Inbound. Yep. Sorry, moving around here.
Right. So today we're going to be talking about how to balance user experience with SEO. So they're two big initiatives, and it's easy to kind of get tunnel vision, right? Where we're just focused on how do we make our websites super user friendly, but at the same time, like, we need to rank, right? We need Google, we need Bing, we need these search engines to find us and send those people to us. So how do we kind of balance those two initiatives? But before we get into that, Richard, do you want to kind of give an intro to yourself and Acer, and we'd love to learn more about you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the CEO and founder of Acer Inbound. So we are a full service digital agency, but we focus on SEO and organic content production to get exactly what you're talking about, those rankings. So we focus on providing extreme value to not only clients, but our clients' customers to ensure that they're having that incredible experience that you want to have when you're searching for something. And then that's how, in turn, how you get these search results that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously, we're all about the day drinking here with Gettin Buzz'd. Right. So you see you've got some black box back there.
Yeah. This is a recent discovery since quarantine happened that you can get a box of wine that's pretty high quality for like $18, and it's 4 bottles in one. So it's maybe not the best, but can't really beat it for the price.
There you go. I feel like everyone discovered something about alcohol during quarantine.
Absolutely.
And so we're drinking, we found a new hard seltzer because, they're like all the rage right now. So we're drinking Vizzy. And I think it's made by Coors out of Colorado. So
according to the box it is. So okay. That's why I went with it.
There you go. I feel like it's summer. You can't go wrong with a hard seltzer.
I'd prefer the red wine right now.
Okay.
Hard seltzers, though, they just came out of nowhere.
Seriously, just like took over.
Took the industry by storm.
Cool. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Well, cool. And so as we kind of dive into the topic, would love to get your thoughts and opinions on, businesses are really starting to think about how do we make our website have a great user experience. When somebody's there, they can find what they're looking for. They're looking at multiple pages. Our bounce rates are down, things like that. But at the same time, like, we've got to appease the Google gods, right? Like, we've got to still follow those rules. And how do we start to balance those priorities?
Yeah, so when you're creating content and you have SEO in mind, you have to remember that you're writing really for two audiences. You're writing for the user who's on the site, but you're also writing for Google, who has to know the site exists and has to know what the topic is about. So right. It's interesting because they're very different, but they kind of take in content the same way. So the way Google takes in content is it prioritizes things based off of the tag. So the title tag will tell you what the page is about, and then it goes to the headers and the subheaders and then the copy within the page. And that's really how users read the page as well. So they're going to look at the title, and if the title's interesting, they're going to click in, and then they're going to skim the page for the sections they think are interesting. And if those are good enough, then they'll actually dive in and read the content. So you have to think about that. That's why you have to spend a lot of time on your titles, a lot of time on your headers to make sure that they're baiting the reader to read more, and they're providing the actual content that people want to read. So you have to think about it from a holistic point of view of like, okay, this is the hierarchy. Everything in there needs to be good, and this is what I need to focus on.
Well, and I think that's a great point. Like, that is how we function, right? Like, regardless of what we're reading, like, we want to see the bullet points first, right? We don't have the attention to read through the whole thing and then get to the end and say, this isn't what I was looking for.
Right.
Like, we're looking at those headings and to figure out, okay, is this page solving my problem, or is it giving me the information I'm looking for?
And it actually goes before that, before the header, before the titles. Does the page load? So if it takes more than a few seconds to load, they're leaving and they're finding something else. Pretty much, I wouldn't say pretty much every industry in the world, there's 100 competitors behind you. So if your page takes 10 seconds to load, they're just going to go to the next one. And then once it loads, it has to look nice. It can't be intimidating. So when you see these pages load and there's blocks of text that's a mile long, no one's going to look at it. No one's even going to give it a chance. So you have to make sure it's visually appealing and readable. So, don't have more than a few lines of text in a row, have nice imagery, have imagery that supports the visuals. Don't put in like stock images and stuff like that people are just going to scroll over. Have images that actually add value to the piece. And then once you have that, like, okay, someone sees a page, oh, this loaded fast, looks nice, I can read this. Then they start reading all those titles and headers. So you have to really think about it from top to bottom. And it starts on the search result, whether or not your title is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's interesting that, like, even though user experience and SEO feel like they're two different pieces, right? They feel like they have two different goals. Like, a lot of those things that you just said fit into both categories, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And
Yeah, SEO is a term that's for search engine optimization, but as Google gets smarter and smarter, there's no more tricks left in SEO. It used to be you put the keywords in, you make them invisible, and your page will rank #1. But now it's just like, okay, how do we make an awesome page? And that's what Google wants. So SEO is just becoming more of, okay, like just overall digital marketing from top to bottom.
yeah, and like, because I think people get it in their head, right, that SEO is like you're just doing things for Google,
Yeah,
right? You're just trying to check all the boxes for Google so you can rank. That's the only purpose. And I think that a lot of those things that you're saying and are pieces that me as a consumer, you as a consumer, like, you go to a website and you look for those things, right?
yeah,
You don't have the attention span to sit there and, okay, this page looks like it's loading, so hopefully it will sometime soon. Like,
yeah.
nobody's doing that. Like, they're going back to Google and clicking on the next link. And
Exactly. And people think SEO is like doing what Google wants, but then they don't listen to what Google's saying. The Google Webmaster Guidelines say, hey, don't do all this stuff. This is not what we want. We just want you to provide awesome content. Don't
right,
worry about the keywords. Don't worry about this stuff. So you have to have your bases covered as far as if you don't mention the keyword on your page at all, you're obviously not going to rank for it. But don't focus on that stuff. Focus on just providing exactly what your user wants. And if your page fits a need, make sure it speaks to that. So Google understands what to give it a chance to rank for. And then once people like it, then it's, off to the races, getting it up the rankings higher.
yeah, absolutely. Sorry, and we just had a
Guest appearance.
guest appearance. This is Chauncey, Michael's dog. one of the two office dogs.
My dog's back in New Jersey. I'm over in Jacksonville, so I'm missing him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it feels weird right now. We don't have anybody to stay in the office and babysit the dogs when we are podcasting or anything. So we'll have those guest appearances. But
It's all right. No one ever complains about a dog guest appearance.
right.
Right.
I mean, I think one of the big things that kind of stands out to me is, right, I'm on the sales side for our agency. And so by no means am I an expert or anything like that. And I always do kind of think of SEO and user experience, very important pieces, but they seem so different. But the SEO piece, right, you're trying to drive the traffic, trying to drive the consumer there. But if they don't have a good user experience when they show up, they're going to leave. And so while you're building out, your user experience, you're keeping SEO in mind, but at the same time, and that one seems fairly normal, but it doesn't feel that normal that as you're building out your SEO, you're focused on that user experience as well. That's just one of those, misbalances that I just never really thought of, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to think about the first thing. What we always focus on is providing value on the page. So if we're not providing value, then we scrap it and go and try again. And that goes to every piece of content. Yeah. So every blog, if we're writing it and we say this seems kind of redundant, this isn't interesting, we try again. So it has to be really awesome content, and then you layer in the SEO stuff in the back end. So making sure all the images are tagged correctly, making sure the page is tagged correctly with the headers and H1s and H2s and H3s and the meta description and the title. Make sure there's all these different parts of the title that add increased interest in it. So there's a lot of intricacies from the SEO side, but they won't matter unless you have the front end piece of the user experience and the value added in place.
One thing that, like, as we were talking before we started recording, like, one of the things that we were talking about, and you kind of mentioned that I thought was interesting, was like, if you only focused on one, right? If you only focused on user experience or only focused on SEO, like, who's better off?
Yeah, the user experience for sure. And that's coming from someone who preaches SEO. So when you have the user experience down, if they're getting to the page, if it's loading quickly, if they're saying this is, providing awesome content and awesome value, Google will recognize that. Google will see these factors. Okay, people are getting to this page, no matter figuring out what they're searching for, and they're getting there and they're enjoying it. So that means it's going to be, you really can't have a good user experience if you don't have SEO in place, because they're going to be searching for something and they're going to get the answer they're looking for on that page if they're finding that page. So if someone's writing a page and they are, a dog food company, and they're writing about if they have the best performing page on rocket science, might not ever show up because there's just a disconnect there. But if you're writing about what you're doing and you're providing a service and people are finding it, you're going to have great SEO. So but it's the tricky part is getting on the first page to get a chance, because if you're not within the first 10 search results, and typically within the first 5 search results, no one's going to find your page organically. So you
Right.
have to push it out in other ways, and that's not as sustainable long term. So when people write a blog post, they typically push it out to their email subscribers. They push it on social. They push it out on Reddit and Quora and whatever these are, and they see a short spike, and they pat themselves on the back and move on to the next blog post. But you're not going to see any sustained growth there. So you have to make sure it's really valuable content that's optimized, and just give it a chance to grow. And once you, and that's not saying to don't do that other stuff, because you want to have that initial burst, because then you're just going to see the on page experience, and Google's going to see that people are liking the page and staying there and reading it, and it'll rank quicker. But the biggest thing you can do is create awesome content and then get people to link back to it with backlinking strategies. And the best way to get backlinks is to create awesome content. So you can again do it in the old school traditional way of like reaching out to people, and we still do that. Reach out and try to get guest posts and try to get backlinks through broken link building and all that fun stuff. But you're never going to scale as much as just having really awesome content that people want to link to and want to share.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that people don't really think about is, what is the purpose of Google, right? The purpose of Google in most people's heads is, okay, they're just going to show me a bunch of websites. Well, the actual, like, Google's goal is to provide the answer that you're looking for. And so it's all based on that content. They don't, like, if we all started one day doing searches, we click on one, and then immediately after every search, we have to go back to Google and search again. Do you remember the days of, like, you'd search something and you're like, none of that is what I was looking for. Okay, how do I reword this search so that I can find what I'm looking for? Like, there's a reason those days are gone, because Google's whole purpose is to provide the answer we're looking for. And so if we're clicking on a link, going to that website, not finding what we want, immediately coming back and searching again, Google's not doing its job.
Yeah, and if you have a keyword in mind you want to rank for, like you're saying, the best way to find out what to put on the page is to search Google and see what the first results are, because that means that people are searching for that term and going to that page, and it's exactly what they're looking for. So this is a concept that Brian Dean coined, the skyscraper technique, which is, okay, you want to rank for a particular term, go to that page and then try to do it better, because what they're doing is exactly what people want. So what can you add? What other questions can you answer? What other piece of visual content can you add? How can you improve on that page? And that's your only chance to rank above it.
Absolutely. I think that's a great tip there. Kind of coming off of that, like, are there any other tips that you have? Like, we have a lot of our viewers are like smaller businesses, or just kind of really diving into digital marketing, or kind of figuring out, okay, what do we need to do here? Do you have any other tips, like that somebody could implement today or start working on today in order to help, I guess, both user experience and SEO?
Yeah, so it depends a little bit on their industry, but I'd say the most important things are to make sure your website is fast, because if people are taking a long time to load in your site, you're never going to get any traction. And then just really diving into exploring what your audience is looking for and who they are. So I assume a lot of these small business owners have a good idea who their target audience is, but a lot of them build content around their products and not necessarily their solutions. So what is your customer searching for? That's their problem. So if you are, a manufacturer or something, and you provide conveyors, people aren't going to be searching for, conveyors are going to be searching for, how do I improve the efficiency of my line? How do I stop breaking bottles? Stuff like that. So they're going to be searching for their problems. That's why you have to break out your content in terms of the user journey. So what people are going to be looking for the problem, then they're going to be looking for a solution, then they're going to be looking for you. So having content that speaks to every part of the user journey is probably the number one thing they can do. And then once you do that, doing exactly what I said, looking at what's ranking now, and then trying to build content better than that. Because, and another thing there's a lot of things, but so one of the things they have to really identify when they're searching for that keyword is what type of page is ranking for it. So if you're searching for a term and you're saying it's all product pages, or it's all blog pages, or it's all citation lists or something, one, avoid that. If you're trying to compete with Yelp or Amazon or something like that, pick a longer tail term. Because that's really what you're going to be looking for when you're a small business. You can't really compete with the Amazons of the world. So focusing on long tail keywords, which is not just red shoes, it's red shoes with white laces and all that fun stuff. So the longer terms that people are going to be searching for, and then identifying that and building content that's similar to that on the page type, on the content, on the visuals that are in the page, on the questions answered, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I think
or go to one of us, or just go to one of us to do it.
Right. It's one of those things that, anytime we're talking SEO with a client, like you can like see that moment where like eyes glaze over, right? But I think just thinking about it from the perspective of like you've been talking about, like how do you want to visit a website, right? And if a website takes 10 seconds to load, are you going to sit around and wait for it? Probably not. And so, I think there are tools out there that you can kind of get started with, Google page speed insights, just see where you're at, like take a baseline, right? And, what does your content look like? Is it all like self-promotional, talking about your products, like you were saying, or is it actual, educational, helpful content that somebody may be searching for because they have a problem, right? Every business is in business because they're solving a problem for somebody. Whether it's B2B or it's a nonprofit or it's a B2C, whatever. The reason you're in business is because you can solve a problem. And so identifying what that problem is and creating content around it is the whole point.
Exactly. It's about creating that educational content you're talking about and investing in your content. So a lot of people just think writing a blog post is 1,000 words and posting it on a regular basis is enough, but it's a scary prospect to invest in thousands or thousands of dollars in a blog post, but the ROI long term is enormous when you can get a good chunk of traffic driven from those posts. So don't be afraid to invest in your content, get a great writer, get a great graphic designer who can create really powerful images that add value to the page and break up that readability we were talking about. So making sure it looks nice and feels nice and it's really thorough. And you can use I'm trying to think of free tools that would give you like Uber Suggest is a good one. That's a free tool that you can map out what you need to rank on that page. So getting a good sense of how long the content has to be, all that, the type and all that stuff to understand what it takes to rank for a particular term. And if it's a competitive term, you have to invest in it.
Right. And that's, I think also another thing that people fail to realize is that, keywords vary in how competitive they are, right? And so just because like you're an accounting firm and you want to rank for accounting, like it doesn't really work that way. It's not, even if it's in your name, like you're probably not going to just automatically rank for accounting. So we need to, if you're really going after some of those like super high volume keywords, like you've got to invest in it. Like there's just no two ways about that.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to go after terms that have, less than 100 searches a month or even less than that, because when you get traction, when you get those visitors, you're going to get infinitely more visitors on ranking number one for a term with 100 views than ranking 25 for a term with 100,000. So you can pat yourself on the back and say, hey, wow, we're doing so great in the top 25 for accounting, but no one's going to see that. But if you're ranking for, spring tax accounting, Jacksonville, Florida, there's only 40 searches for that, but you're number one, you're going to get traffic from that. So understand those keywords and difficulty and how you want to rank for. And then once you get that, then you can scale up to a bigger one and then a bigger one. So it's just a slow process, but it's not as slow as people think. You know, you can get something in 6 months to a year. So if you say, hey, would you take 12 months from now, you're ranking number one for five of these key terms, they would say, yeah, but you have to invest the time and you have to be patient.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's all great info. And, I think it is great that we kind of talked about how user experience and SEO really kind of go hand in hand. Like it's not one or the other. In order to have a great user experience, you have to have great SEO. In order to have great SEO, you have to have great user experience. So, I think that people just thinking about, okay, I'm only going to invest in one or the other, you really kind of have to invest in both. And, it's not necessarily I have to run a campaign over here for user experience and another one over here for SEO. Like as you're doing those things, you can't create one without the other.
Yeah, Google is getting smarter and smarter every day. So there's really no more hacks or tricks when it comes to SEO. And if someone's saying they can do that, run away because you're going to get penalized and you're never going to rank. So the general rule of thumb is to think like a Googler. So if Google would want you to do this, do it. If you think that they might not like that, don't do it. So there's no more tricks, and it's only getting smart. I'm sure it's just the beginning now. I'm sure they'll be able to read our thoughts about what we want and search results for that.
Sometimes it already feels like that.
yeah. I mean, maybe not hear our thoughts, definitely hear our conversations, but But I've been in marketing for so long. You'd think I would have heard some rumblings about how to do that, but it's still, whenever I see a search result for something I was just talking about to my fiance, I'm like, they have to be listening somehow. There's somebody out there that knows how to do it.
Hey, Google runs the world, so they probably have just like drones overhead that are just listening to everyone's conversations.
Yeah, probably. They can hear it through the walls.
Well, great. It was great having you on. And so like the last piece of this is, how's the buzz? So how's that black box treating you?
It's pretty good. I'm not really a connoisseur, but there's definitely alcohol in it, so it works. It works.
Right. I was never a wine drinker, and then my fiance, she likes her wine, and so she's just been like, okay, we're gonna try all these different ones, and so we've definitely been drinking our fair share of wine during quarantine.
That's exactly what happened to me. It
Yeah.
seems like all fiancés, you just transition to wine eventually.
Right. What'd you think of Vizzy?
It feels sweeter than most seltzers to me, and I feel like I've gotten away from the sweet drinks. So not my cup of tea, but still a refreshing summer drink for one, I guess.
It does say that it has antioxidants and vitamin C, though. So basically, we're drinking vitamins, is what I took away from that.
Yeah, it's the Gatorade of seltzers.
I thought it was.
Yeah, I changed my mind. I do have an opinion. I can taste the rich aromas of dark fruit. They're complemented by a deep, lush body. The finish is soft. It's long but lingering, with some notes of berry. I can definitely get that.
You really know your wine.
Not a connoisseur, huh?
Yeah, no big deal.
Well, Richard, it was so great having you on. Again, Richard's with Acer Inbound. Do you want to tell people how they can get in touch with you, or your website, things like that?
Yeah, they can just go to acerinbound.com and fill out the contact form, and you can get in touch with me there, or you can send me a message on LinkedIn if you would prefer that way.
Perfect. And so we'll have the links down below as well. Yeah, it was great having you on. But everyone, make sure to like and subscribe. We'll have another episode coming up in a couple weeks, and we'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.